Hey guys, how's it going? It's Cap and TheDoerle back with you for another episode of Burning Star Wars Questions for TheDoerle. And once again, we are coming to you from Doerle's Darth Vader Museum. This is also a special edition as we have questions from a couple of our subscribers. And as always, we're always taking questions. Just leave them in the comments section and we will address them as best as we can.
I find your lack of Star Wars knowledge disturbing. Join me, and we can rule the Star Wars trivia galaxy together.
Okay, we'll be back right after the credits. Welcome back for another episode of Burning Questions for TheDoerle.
All right, and we've got our questions today are brought to us by a couple of our YouTube subscribers. First two questions are from one of our subscribers, Michael, whose last name will not be attempted to be pronounced. He sent a message and he spelled out how to pronounce his name, and he said, on second thought, don't even try because it really bothers me when people mispronounce my last name. And you know what? My last name is Doerle, but it's not pronounced anything like it spells. So Michael, I'm with you. I feel your pain. Let's get to the questions.
Okay, so the first question from Michael is, a main story arc in The Empire Strikes Back is that while the Millennium Falcon is being chased to Cloud City, Luke Skywalker is learning how to be a Jedi from Yoda. Is it just me, or does the Millennium Falcon seem to get to Cloud City in a relatively short amount of time? Okay, and he goes on to say, wasn't it implied that the Millennium Falcon takes a long time to travel, even through sublight speed? Especially considering these two scenes link back and forth, meaning Luke learned how to be a Jedi all in one afternoon.
You know, that's a great question. It really points out something that could be a massive plot hole in Star Wars, if you didn't know the backstory to it. You know, Luke leaves Dagobah, the Falcon leaves Dagobah, everybody's escaping, and Luke is there, goes to Dagobah to complete his training with Yoda. Meanwhile, the Falcon loses her hyperdrive, and she winds up a bunch of adventures through the asteroid field and everything, winds up drifting through space with Imperial junk, and he finds Bespin. He finds, Lando, not the Lando system, the man Lando, on Bespin, and he says it's far away, but we can probably make it. You have to understand a few things about the Millennium Falcon about where Bespin and Hoth are related to in galactic space. Hoth and Bespin are almost on top of each other. They're very, very close. So with the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive, which can go 1.5 past light speed, it's a really fairly short jump. Now, the hyperdrive was broken. But any ship in Star Wars that's basically bigger than a snub fighter, just a small ship like a TIE fighter, is going to have a backup hyperdrive. And the Falcon probably did have one of these. Now, there's a few problems with that. It might not have been working. Han was always going and doing all kinds of really fast slapdash repairs on the Falcon.
That's true.
Controlling the hyperdrive and the Falcon itself were 3 separate droid brains wired together, so that could have been a problem with it. But also, a backup hyperdrive isn't supposed to take you from here to there and be super reliable. It's something it's a lot more complicated. You know, you have to manually turn it on, turn it off. So
it's kind of like a donut on a car.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a stopgap solution.
It's a spare tire, basically. So he could have gotten close to Bespin and then traveled into sublight. And I don't know exactly how fast everything moves in sublight speed, but you figure it's got to take a long time, you know, when you're traveling in the vast distances of space.
Right, and Solo even says, you know, Bespin, it's a long way off, but I think we can make it. So, I mean, to me, that says, you know, maybe it would have taken them a long time, maybe even a week or so, you know, and maybe that's when Luke was getting his training, because, I mean, you know, for what he was doing, I would say like a week.
A week, I think it would take a lot longer, actually.
Okay, all right.
Now, let's look at what Corellian YT-1300 can do. That's, of course, the Millennium Falcon. That's what kind of ship it is.
Right.
What I've found in technical readouts, in the manuals, the Essential Guide to Vehicles, my encyclopedias and research on the internet, is you have about 2 months worth of food to feed Chewbacca and Leia and Han. You know, the droids obviously aren't going to
No, they don't need it.
but they're going to last about 2 months with what they would typically have on board. Now, I actually did deeper research into this question.
Oh, okay.
And I found that Irvin Kershner, the director of The Empire Strikes Back, said that he thought it took 6 months to get from Hoth to Bespin. So that's quite a bit of time there.
Yeah.
You know, which would give Luke a lot of time to be trained on Dagobah, because he is going through a crash course in training to be a Jedi.
Right.
Now, granted, Yoda does say that the Force runs strong in the Skywalker family. You know, so maybe he had a very steep learning curve, and he did leave before Yoda thought he was done. But you know, he's going through his crash course. He didn't start training to be a Jedi until he was 19 years old.
Right. Yeah,
you know, and
exactly.
Yoda's used to training Jedi since they were infants.
Yeah, like
So,
5-year-olds and whatnot.
Now, as far as how long it took to get there, we can't really know. But even, like I said, Irvin Kershner said it took 6 months, and he was disappointed that he didn't convey the amount of time that it took for him to get there.
Because, they never really spell that out as to, like, how long Luke was on Dagobah or Han Solo and crew were on their way to Bespin. Yeah, they don't really address that. So, I mean, it's kind of left up to your imagination as to, you know, how long all these things took and how they sync up, and
Well, you also look at like the canon timeline. You have to understand that the Star Wars movies didn't happen in a span of just a couple weeks. They happened over several years. There were gaps of years between episodes 4 and 5, and then 5 and 6. So for a movie to take a span of a year or more is not inconceivable, you know.
No.
But I would like to think that that they were out in space for a couple of months. Given what the Falcon probably would have had, you know,
Right.
maybe she had a little bit more stuff on there because Han knew that he was leaving. You know, he stocked up a little bit extra, but maybe he just stocked up a little bit extra for him and Chewie. You know. So
that's a possibility.
I think it probably took him a couple months to get there.
Yeah,
Luke went to Dagobah, trained for a few months, and then he left, obviously, when he realized that his friends were in danger.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I would tend to agree with that. And what I would say is, you know, like, again, you know, not to reiterate, but, you know, they don't really tell you where, you know, how long all this stuff takes, and it's up to interpretation.
Well, there are pretty good maps that they put out that are canon maps, and if you look at where Dagobah is, it's not that far from Bespin either. So with light speed in an X-wing, it's not a long trip. So for him to hastily leave Dagobah and then get to his friends, you figure they're on Cloud City for a few days. You know, they've settled in a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got.
Yeah.
They were there at least a day or so.
The Empire knew they were there.
Right.
You know,
yeah. They were just waiting to spring the trap.
they were just trying to do it.
Yeah.
Vader knew what was going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say probably a couple months is how long all that took.
I would tend to agree. I mean, like I said, you know, again, not to reiterate.
This is a really good question. This is a really
it's a mind
question.
bonder. You know, absolutely.
It's one of those things you really have to look
happen?
at Star Wars and you know, obviously suspend disbelief, because George Lucas was making a space opera.
You're right.
He wasn't trying to make something like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
No.
You know,
he was like more into like Kurosawa films, and then old westerns and stuff like that. Yeah, which is where a lot of this stuff came from. Yeah, so
good question. Wow, I really rambled on for a while about that, but that was a pretty important question, so it deserved quite a bit of time. What we're going to have to do is break this episode up into 2 parts.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and again, guys, if you like this, like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the second part of this interview. Like DeDoerle said, it went on a little too long, about 8 minutes, I think. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll be back with the second part of this episode.